Hey guys, welcome back to Pokemon TCG Pocket. In today's video, I want to take a look at an updated tier list over on Pokemon Zone, talk about the top 4 decks specifically, and some meta results we had in some tournaments. Now, before we get into it, one of my previous giveaway winners has not accepted it. If they do come forward, I will still honor that win. But because of that, we're going to do another giveaway in this one, just $100. Be subscribed, leave a comment, you'll go in the draw, and I'll announce the winner a week away in a community post. But let's get in and chat about it, because I've had a really busy week, haven't had any time to look at Ursi's tournament that happened over the weekend, which was real spicy with the Charizard Arcanine winning the tournament, which is fantastic to see. So I want to have a bit of a chat about this, and then also the tier list, like I said. So let's first off jump over here into the tier list. This is over on Pokemon Zone. Now, what I love that the owner of Pokemon Zone does is get a bunch of players, content creators, community members. These are the guys that have contributed to this iteration of it. I'll leave their links in the description as well. Massive shout out to them. But basically, we get to have a look, and I really love doing this pre-release and stuff as well, where you get some comments. And I think this comment here on the Charizard deck, I wanted to mention this before we jump over and take a look at the standings over in Ursi's tournament. This was a great quote. Charizard's matchup into Mewtwo has only improved with the addition of Baby Mewtwo. So we have been seeing the Mewtwo decks. Adding that Baby Mewtwo just really helps the matchup, lets them sacrifice 2 single points before taking 2. But the one matchup it doesn't help them in is Charizard, so it's even brought Charizard more into it, which is a really cool thing to see. So the standard Charizard version is getting better, but when we talk about Charizard moving up a little bit or getting more competitive, it is mainly due to this build here using the Arcanine as well, because it gives it a faster matchup against like Pikachu EX, which is fantastic. So let's just bounce back over. But yeah, because of its addition, the matchup has really slowed. The matchup has really slowed down, giving more time to Charizard EX. However, Pikachu and other aggro decks can still outpace. But thanks to the addition of Arcanine EX, Charizard has the fastest attack setup that helps against a lot of other decks that otherwise had difficulty with, like Pikachu EX. The thing with this is, it is still Charizard. And even though you are running Arcanine in it, you're only running the one Growlithe. So trying to get the puzzle pieces is still always going to be the problem for a Charizard deck. It's just, if you don't get the pieces, you're just absolutely boned. You can be 99% set up and all you need is that one evolution and you don't get it and you're screwed. Or you can have the evolution in hand, you don't get the basic, you're screwed. So that is the one problem that exists with Charizard. But I think Charizard has been the deck that we have seen making moves the most across the board in tournament scenes. Now, something interesting I wanted to look at over here was the metagame and the entrance of these decks, because normally it's always Pikachu and Mewtwo EX. Now, we still do have a lot of Pikachu. They still over here separate them into the Pikachu with Raichu, Pikachu with Zebra Striker, Pikachu Electrode. I think they should all just be classified as Pikachu. We've got Pikachu Zapdos EX as well. But I think they should all just be considered Pikachu EX decks, and they can be added up. And you can see we've got 7% plus 6% plus 2% with like 15, like 16, 17-ish percent. So we still do have the second highest representation from Pikachu EX, but this Charizard Arcanine deck getting 11.13% representation is really, really solid. And the thing I was curious to see was when we looked at the standings over here and we take a look at where the results were. When we look at the metagame, roughly, just doing napkin math, we've got 3 times the amount of Mewtwo decks as Charizard EX. So I was like, okay, let's check the results. We ended up with and I'm looking only at the Charizard with Arcanine. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the top 32. 4 of them. Whereas Mewtwo, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Which is pretty much that 3 times difference. So I was very impressed to see that the Charizard Arcanine not only having higher representation this time around, but also getting a pretty good result in the top 32 when we look at percentages based on how many there were of it versus how many there were of Mewtwo EX. So its performance overall seems to be doing really well. Now, what do I think about the current meta itself? Once again, this is a tier list. Once again, massive shout out to Pokemon Zone for doing this. I highly recommend clicking into this tab. But if you want to zoom out, you can come out here and take a look at it like this. I still do think Pika and Mewtwo are the top decks, but this Charizard build, I think it's like almost hovering up. Once again, Starmie is an amazing deck, but the existence of so much Pikachu just kind of drives it out, and that has forever been the biggest problem. Now, I like that they put here promising decks, the Wigglytuff EX, because since I think that was the first tournament that we've had the new Jigglypuff in. I do think the Jigglypuff is going to be more of a nuisance than anything. I don't think it's going to be anything seen in consistent high-ranked play, because it is a coin flip. It is heavily RNG. Now, even though Charizard is RNG, with everything's RNG with your drawing, but with the Moltres is an ironed-out RNG machine. Whereas the Wigglytuff, it's like, I get heads, I win. Like if they get heads and break the sleep, they win. If they don't, they lose. And it's sort of one of those ones where I do think the Jigglypuff will be used in some setup decks and stuff like that, but I just don't think it's going to like end up being in these higher tier decks because it's just too inconsistent as such. We got Starmie in here, who is obviously Misty's a thing, but Starmie doesn't need the Misty to do it, and that's where relying too heavily on RNG is a little bit too much. There's already enough RNG with just trying to draw your cards. Now, past the Wigglytuff and Jigglypuff talk, I want to have a look at some of the middle tier and lower tier decks. This is where the spice happens. We have been seeing in tournaments a lot of cool stuff, different type stuff happen. I do think this tier, Venusaur 100%, Marowak 100%, these two and Blaine 100%. Arcanine EX also very good there. Koga, what Koga is this? I mean, Wheezing and Koga in anything is great. As soon as you get into the muck line, I think it runs out of consistency. Wheezing as a stall to set up for something else, or in with the Arbok, is going to be fantastic. Those are my favorite builds of Koga. When I think Koga, I think Wheezing and Muck, but I don't believe that's what they... Actually, what do they got here? Yeah, Wheezing Muck. I don't think the Wheezing... Okay, no, this is the Arbok one with only the 1 gram of muck line. That's not too bad. That's pretty good. Executor... Yeah, I mean, it's a good rogue deck. It can brick a lot of things that don't swing too hard. A lot of the non-EX decks, it can really stand up pretty hard, but except for Blaine, of course. Blaine just rips shreds. So I think that's pretty good for that tier. I do love Arbok. I personally have a bias towards Arbok Greninja, but whether it's Arbok, Wheezing, basically Arbok anything, I find fun. Arbok, Pidgeot, I just think it's a really cool card. As we go into the lower tier decks, do I think any of these should come up to here? Once again, this is very nitpicky. Honestly, I've been loving Gengar lately. Just the Gengar Psyduck deck, I don't know if they have it in here as one of the options. No, I think this was pretty old. I don't think they've updated some of these decks since launch. But the Gengar Psyduck deck is actually just super fun. New Haunter made no difference. I don't like the new Haunter as much personally, but I think it is great. Melmetal, I think Metal is just waiting for some new support and they could get absolutely cracked. Melmetal is a really annoying card if you don't have the deck to deal with it. The problem is, we got Mewtwo in the meta, we got Charizard in the meta. It kind of just slaps what Melmetal's trying to do, so it doesn't really stand up to that. If we get a more fast-paced meta, then, like, obviously if we had, like, Pikachu and Starmie that were the two very top decks, then I think Melmetal could have a chance because it can come out and it can withstand a little bit, but it sort of more shines against other non-EX decks is its place. Dragonite, too inconsistent. Marcham kind of has the Charizard problem, but without as high of a ceiling. It is a great linear deck when you're playing Marchup, Machoke, Marchamp, and you just go the 20, the 50, the 120, and it's just like, that's going to kill anything, but you need to like just start perfectly. Moltres EX, what is this one? Okay, this is like other variants. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. 18 trainers. I absolutely hate this deck. I think this deck is the worst deck, and if you play it, you're a scumbag, and that's all there is to it. Dude, I hate it. It's just like, if I'm feeling really bored and just want to like smack some stuff out, I will play that deck, and I'll just go, oh, Misty, 3 heads, good game, sir. But besides that, dude, I hate that deck on a competitive sense. Alakazam is actually really funny. I think Alakazam is one of those cards that will just get better with time. I think we will see a meta one day where this Alakazam actually really shines. The problem at the moment is with Starmie living it, and then Mewtwo EX and Charizard discarding after they attack. Besides that, I just feel like this is the kind of effect that will be good for a very long time. I feel like it's almost a little bit immune to power creep in the short term. In the long term, I think everything will get power creeped because HP pools will go up and numbers will go up, and these will all become obsolete cards. That's where I think it will go. I don't know for sure. But I definitely think, Alakazam is something that will get better in the future. Brock, I've been loving a lot lately. I think the Brock Onyx and Kabutops deck is probably one of my favorite ones. Greninja is just great in anything. Greninja with Arbok, Greninja with Starmie, Greninja with Articuno. So I think Greninja you could actually consider to be in the higher tier decks as tech into them. But yeah, like Greninja Articuno, we've seen it in the tournaments working. Greninja Starmie, that Greninja Mewtwo one, we have seen some viable options from there. Honestly, when you look at a tier list, it's just more of an idea to get a feel for it. I do love a bunch of these lower tier decks, and they can all win against the top tier decks. It's just a matter of consistency, which they lack compared to what we have up the top here. But that is a look at the lower tier decks. So when we take a look at the actual top decks, if I had to separate them, now this is not the actual tier list. I agree with, I think this is a pretty nice laid out tier list over here. But if I had to separate, we're just going to remove the tiers here because I'm not trying to call them a bad tier. But if I had to separate the decks, I would say it's currently looking more like this, and this. Now, previously, I would have said like this. However, with that addition of the Arcanine build that people are throwing around in the Charizard, running that Charizard EX with the Arcanine EX, like I said, is an absolutely amazing build. This is where I currently see the decks. If I had to rank the top decks one by one to say this is the best deck, second best deck, third best deck, fourth best deck, once again, that Charizard, though, that is relying on it being in this version of it, because you need that Arcanine for Pikas. It's not guaranteed, but if you don't have it, you're always going to be too slow for a Pika deck. Whereas if you have it, you have a chance of drawing into it and then having a chance to beat that Pikachu EX. Like I said, I was really impressed in this tournament. Massive congrats to Manu for winning this one with the Charizard Arcanine. If you haven't played this deck yet, I highly recommend jumping in and giving it a test. I'm assuming this is going to be the staple build. I haven't seen anyone really stray away from this build of it. I'm curious, maybe like, I'd almost be tempted to drop a red card for another Sabrina for extra stall. I have done that in the past. It's hard to know when you're actually playing it what is the best, but this is pretty much the staple build that's just, that's what I love about this game. It just came out of nowhere. One person runs it in a tournament, and then everyone's like, holy shit, this thing actually works. Like, this is actually viable, and now everyone's running it. And like I said, it is a hell of a fun deck. You are still prone to bricks, as always, with the Charizard. Putting a Growlithe and Arcanine doesn't speed up your path to getting to your Charizard EX. It just gives you another option that maybe you brick on the Charizard, but you draw the Growlithe and Arcanine. At least you can try and do something, try and stall for more time, gives you another pivot and stuff like that. So I do think it is a fantastic deck for those reasons. I think it is great, and I was glad to see it up here. Now, the other interesting thing when we jump into this was we are seeing more of the Greninja combos, and I am a massive fan of Greninja. This one's pretty staple. I do like this deck having the base Articuno. The base Articuno is, it's honestly a great pivot and great like alternate win condition, because if you do happen to Misty a couple times on it in a pinch, it is fantastic. It's only got the 1 retreat cost. It still has 100 HP, which still does suck against Pika because it gets one shot as a weakness, but it is a fantastic card. And I think this is like one of my favorite tech cards, especially in water decks. And then Greninja is just so much fun to play. I love the fact that you've got Frogadier who can swing hard if you go first, if you get the evolution, swing hard for 30. It's not as big as the 40s that you see on some Pokemon, but still the 30 isn't too bad. And then you go straight into Greninja, only having that 2 cost to get 60 damage out, plus the 20 that you can target wherever you want. I think this is absolutely fantastic. Any deck that runs Misty just gives you a chance to have a really impactful run as well. Like I said earlier, RNG is not what you want to rely on, but this deck, as you can see, has decent ways to have aggression without having the Misty. This relies more on the Misty than what the Starmie deck does, in my opinion, because the Starmie is only a stage 1, which is much quicker to get online. You know, got free retreats and stuff like that. But I do think this is a great deck, and I love anything that is running Greninja. I just love seeing the Greninjas out there. The other thing you can see, we did have another Starmie with Greninja, so we are seeing those different combos with the Greninja, but we did have another one of the Greninja and the Mewtwo. Really, really cool. Running this as multicolor, I did play a few games with this, and I found it to be incredibly, incredibly fun. It is only the one tech Mewtwo, but because you only need one water on the Greninja, it's pretty cruisy. You only need the 2 on the Mewtwo. The Mewtwo is not your standard, like, this is what I have to build to win. The deck can win with Kangaskhan flips. The more I play Kangaskhan, the less I like playing Kangaskhan. Because of the RNG, but the idea is you put Kangaskhan out as the wall, and then if they swap you out of it into your Greninja, you've got a cheap retreat anyway to get back, plus you can keep pressure on, so it's not too much stress. But I really do like this deck as well. Like I said, I love seeing the people innovate in cool different decks in these tournaments, and seeing them actually push up pretty high. I think that was the extent of the the spicy decks that we saw in this one, but it was really nice to see. And as you can see, we do just see an absolute flood of the Mewtwo's. But here we go. Here was our highest ranked. Oh no, here was the Wiggly. Dude, rank 40, not too bad. 7-2 with the Wigglytuff Arbok. Okay, that is not something I was expecting to see. I had missed. Okay, it's got the Wheezing. Okay, I was gonna say, makes more sense once you see the Wheezing in there. I was like, no, and dude, this it's only got one of them. I'd still call it an Arbok Wheezing deck with a tech Jigglypuff Wigglytuff, but hey, you got to flex the new things in there. But yeah, that's more of a in a pinch, get you out of position, poison them, return it, put them to sleep, buy yourself some time, trap them if you have to with an Arbok, and you're good to go. Yeah, I do like this deck. I just love anything with Arbok. Arboks, since before the game released, and I was trying to theory craft the Arbok Pidgeot deck because it sounded like fun. I just love Arbok. 100 HP. It's not weak to any of the meta. It's strong against the Mewtwo. I just think it is a great card. I love seeing any innovation on this deck. But that pretty much covers everything I wanted to look at. Once again, massive shout out to Pokemon Zone. Come over here to the website. I'll leave it linked in the description. Click here and you can see some really good insights from these great contributors up here. I'll leave all the links and stuff in the description. And if you want to get any idea about decks, because looking at a list is never too easy. That's why I love making these videos and just discussing things. But you get some really nice insights into the decks over here and their positioning in it. Like I said, I feel like this is the current state of the game. I feel like Mewtwo's best deck, followed by Pikachu, followed by the Charizard Arcanine deck, followed by the Starmie. But, you know, if we just get a little meta shift in the next set, in the mini set, this all could, like, go completely upside down. Because if there's a new meta deck, it depends what it is, what it counters, who it drives out of the meta. If Pika gets driven out, then we start seeing more Charizards and Starmie start stomping. And then Starmie goes even further up because it starts stomping the Charizard. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes. I'm hanging out for the new set. I'm ready for a bit of spice in competition, and that pretty much covers this video. Once again, don't forget to be subscribed and leave a comment to go into the draw. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.